And today's my topic is effect of dietary fat supplementation in sheep and goat. So first of all, talking about the introduction topic, goats and sheep are the integral to the agriculture system and providing milk, meat, wool, and the skin. As it's known, as goats are known as the cows of the poor man, and these ruminants have a complex digestive system, which includes the rumen and which usually breaks down the fibrous plant material. And this holds a very much importance in the livestock production. At both species are raised globally, and their productivity is heavily influenced by the nutritional management, and this whole nutrition takes much more like 70 to 75% cost of a particular farm. And so most of the participants and most of the people usually ask, so why dietary fats? And so let's talk about this thing, because this topic is much more closer to my heart because I've done more research toward this in my PhD work. And this thing, the fats are these are the dense source of energy and play several role in metabolism, growth, reproduction, etc. And there are various functions also. Like compared to the carbohydrate and the protein, fat give 9 kilocalorie per gram as compared to the 4 calorie for carbohydrates. And this function absorption of fat soluble vitamins, these provide essential fatty acids, etc. So, what are the goals of dietary fat supplementation? First of all, it improves the energy balance, especially during the lactation or rapid growth phase. Next thing, it improves the health of the animal, including reproductive performance and immune function. And we can also see an increase in milk yield, meat quality, and the growth rate in young goats and the lambs. So we can have an overview of fatty acids and type of dietary fat before coming to the more topics. So what are the fatty acids? So fats are composed of fatty acid which can be saturated or unsaturated. And there are various type of fats that can be included in the diet of sheep and goat, like vegetable oil, animal fats, fish oil, and most important thing is bypass fat. And these essential fatty acids, these cannot be synthesized by animals and much must be supplied in the diet. And these fats are processed differently in the ruminants, which affect their bioavailability and efficiency. And there are various different type of oil that can be used in the small ruminants like sheep and goat. So like vegetable oil like soya beans, sunflower, canola oil, fish oil, and the animal fats can be used. And these oils are high in unsaturated fatty acid and much more important to our omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acid, as we all know the importance of these things. So, like talking about the vegetable oil, these are rich in the PUFA content, polyunsaturated fatty acid, which improve the lipid profile of milk and meat. And much more important is fish oil. Fish oil holds much more importance as these are high in omega-3 fatty acids and beneficial for improving immune responses. So let's talk about first of all the vegetable oil, much more like soybean oil, sunflower oil, canola, etc. So sunflower oil, these are much known because they have the more omega-6 fatty acids and a good energy source. Sunflower contain both omega-6 and omega-9. And canola, this is rich in omega-3 fatty acids, especially alpha linolenic acid, which is beneficial for health and production. And we all can see this affect the milk fat percentage. And supplementation of these oils can alter fatty acid composition, increasing the unsaturated fat in the milk. And fish oil and omega-3 fatty acids. So omega-3 fatty acids, these are found in fish oil having anti-inflammatory properties and support cardiovascular health in small ruminants. And omega-3 in fat ruminants plays a much more important role, as though rumen microbes can convert some derived omega-3 to omega-6, and direct supplementation of fish oil is much more effective. And fish oil supplementation can improve milk fat quality with a higher content of omega-3, and thus improve the nutritional profile of the milk. And not about the coconut oil and the palm oil. So in compared to the sunflower, like we can see sunflower and fish oil, coconut and the palm oil also plays much important role due to the cost analysis also. So first of all, talking about the coconut oil, as much more used in the southern part of the India, as these are rich in the medium chain triglyceride, which are rapidly absorbed and used for energy, offering potential benefits for energy metabolism in ruminants, small ruminants. And like palm oil, these are obviously cheaper than as compared to the soya bean and canola, and these are the high in saturated fat, but these are often used as an energy source for ruminant due to the cheaper rate. And this palm oil particularly beneficial for boosting milk yield in the lactating sheep. So here we come out what are the various we have known about what are the various oil that can be used. So now what are the effects of oil type on rumen fermentation? So these oils can alter rumen fermentation that can affect microbial activity and most important the VFA's production, like VFA's acetic acid, propionic, and the butyric acid. And these PUFA fats, polyunsaturated fats, may reduce fiber digestibility as they can inhibit cellulosic microbes in the rumen. And this saturated fat, however, have less impact on rumen microbes but can influence the lipid metabolism in the liver and the mammary glands. Now, about the fatty acid profile of the various oils, like we have known about omega 3, omega 6, so this thing that comes under fatty acid profiling, and this is a trending topic that how the designer milk and designer meat are been designed. So oils such as soybean, sunflower, canola provide different type of fatty acids. Like soybean, these are rich in omega 6, while canola provides omega 3. And supplementing with the fish oil boosts the omega 3 content in the animal products. Like this can enhance the health properties of the final product, including lowering the risk of cardiovascular disease of the consumers. So there is a trending topic of designer milk and the designer meat by using the small ruminants. So, what are the omega 3 and omega 6 fatty acids? Omega 3 to omega ratio in the diet. This is crucial for balancing inflammatory response and supports overall health. And this omega 6 fatty acids from oil like corn or sunflower generally pro-inflammatory, while omega 3 fatty acids from the fish and the flax seed oil or lean seed oil, you can see, have anti-inflammatory effects. And the proper balance of these fatty acids is essential for improved animal health and production, particularly immune function and the reproduction. Now, what is the role of this fat supplementation? Now, when the terms come fat, we can think about use of different oils. So, what are the roles of these oils in the milk fat production? So, dietary fat supplementation is crucial for improving the milk fat yield, and also this can alter the fatty acid profiling. Especially we can see in the case of the lactating goats and the sheep. And supplementing the oil, various oil like palm oil, canulas, this can increase the unsaturated fatty acid content in the milk, which is desirable for the farmers, for the animal health and the consumer preference also. And the PUFA, particularly omega-3 fatty acids, as I talk about this thing. And fish oil rich in the EPAs and the DHA, which improve the milk quality by increasing omega-3 fatty acids. And this PUFA can in the diet can affect rumen fermentation by modifying the microbial population. And this can lead to the higher yield of the unsaturated fatty acids in milk. And this was also found by the Chillard and the co-workers in 2021. So this is the most important thing. What is the effect on growth and the weight gain? So most of the time, farmer complain that they are not getting the proper average daily gain when they are rearing goat and the sheep. So using this fat and oil uh, can have a good results also. Like we can see here, like fat supplementation diet known for significant enhanced growth rate and feed efficiency in young goats and the lamb. And when vegetable oil like rice bran oil, canola oil, etc., can be incorporated in diet, they provide a concentrated energy source, improving the weight gain by allowing more energy to available for growth. And like MCT in the coconut oil, especially from the coconut, these are early absorbed in the digestive tract, and this also provide an immediate source of energy. So that's why by feeding the oil, we can see a higher faster growth in the young ruminants. And there also was a study by the Baker. He found that the supplementing young goats with the coconut oil not only improved energy metabolism but also positively impacted muscle development and body condition, which is vital for overall productivity in the future performance. And furthermore, we can also think like additional fat in the diet aids in improving the FCR by providing the more energy dense feed, which help the animal utilize their feed much more efficiently, that support better growth and body weight gain. So we can directly say that this oil supplementation help in improving FCR. And now the fat and the meat quality. Like if you're supplementing the fat, this can significantly improve the meat quality by affecting the omega-6 3 and omega-6 fatty acid content. And also we can see the marbling. And what is marbling? This refers to sheik of the fat that found within the muscle. So feeding the oil, it depends on like what kind of oil we are feeding, like we have talked earlier. And what now come about the main thing, practical feeding of the oil. So when we incorporate oil in the ruminant diet, so this require careful management because how fats are fed to maximize their benefits. So there are various methods. First is top dressing. Top dressing means we sprinkle oil directly onto the feed. Next thing, by mixing oil into the compound feed and provide oil supplements are common strategies for fat inclusion. So this what first is the top dressing. This simplest method where oils are directly um, added directly to the feed after it prepared. and this allows the fat to be consumed while the rest of the feed. And this method helps ensure that the oil is consumed in a concentrated form. Next thing is another method, mixing into pellet or the compound feed, ensuring a uniform distribution of fat in the diet. And next thing, in case where it's necessary to bypass the rumen, so bypass fat can be used. And these fat are processed in a way that protected them from the microbial degradation. So this is most important thing, that we can go for top dressing or pelleted feeds with them. So there are various challenges also when we are feeding oil. So despite the benefit, feeding oil to the goats and sheep presents severe challenges, especially coming to the cost. High quality oils are having much more rate, and these oil can significantly increase the feed cost, which might be a limiting factor for a small scale farmer. And another challenge is potential negative impact on the rumen health, as we cannot exceed some six more than 6% total fat in the diet. So this is also a challenge for this, when we cannot go for rational feeding of oil. And higher level of fat in the diet can inhibit the activity of cellulotic microbes in the rumen, which are responsible for breaking down fiber in the diet. And this can reduce the fiber digestibility. So this is the more risk when we are feeding the more oil to the animal. So this can decrease the fiber digestibility, as this will coat the rumen content and will hamper the fermentation. And some type of fats, particularly polyunsaturated fats, are prone to the oxidation, so we have to take care about this also. And the fatty acid profiling, this has talked earlier. And now the main thing, that in as compared to the oils, we can also use the various bypass fat. So bypass fat, these are rumen protected, and these are protected from the degradation, and can and pass directly into the small intestine for the absorption. And these are typically encapsulated or chemically modified, or we can simply say these are the calcium salts or the fatty acid, or we can say calcium soap, which protect them for the microbial fermentation of the rumen. And this provide a concentrated energy source. So bypass fat is a much more trending topic for nowadays, and studies show that supplementing ruminants with the bypass fat can increase growth rate, improve feed efficiency, and enhance milk fat content in dairy, goats, and the sheep. However, the amount of bypass should be carefully managed to avoid potential issues like reduced fiber digestibility, I've told earlier. And these are basically the calcium sort of fatty acid that are shown to particularly effective, as they are well tolerated and provide a stable form of fat that bypass the rumen. So what are the effects of bypass fat on the digestibility? So these reaches the small intestine intact, where they emulsify and absorb their micelle, providing high energy density without surpassing rumen fermentation. And in research, it has found that the organic matter in the ether extract in goat and sheep, when bypass included 2 to 4% of diet. And also a study reported at 14.6% increase in the TDN in lactative E, supplemented with 3% calcium protected palm oil. And there are various challenges in using bypass fat also, like economical constraint, that bypass fat are 3 to 5 times more expensive than the conventional oil. And the risk of overuse, like if we exceed more than the 6% of the dry matter, this can lower the feed intake, obvious fiber digestibility also. And oxidation issues are also there, like improper storage of bypass fat can lead to rancidity as is a fat. And there's also technical barriers, like small scale farmer may lack formulation expertise and proper mixing equipment. And there are also things like if you're supplementing the fish oil supplementation and the omega-3, as fish are more omega-3 content, so we can think about this thing also. And also the designer meat concept come over this. So here is thing, how use of vegetable oil in ruminant diet can change the thing. Vegetable oil like sunflower oil, canola, and the soybean are commonly used in ruminant diet, and supplementing with vegetable oil help increase the energy density also. And research has shown that canola oil to the small ruminant can lead to the improvement in performance, milk production, and also the milk quality. But however, imbalance in omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acid diet can have negative effect on the health. So essential to balance the intake of vegetable oil to ensure that omega-3, omega-6 level do not become too high. And also the sunflower and the soybean oil are good option for improving growth rate and the feed efficiency, but they should not be supplemented carefully to obtain maximum fat level and avoid disruption to of rumen function. And what are the roles of fat in immunity and the disease resistance? So obviously, when we are giving the dietary fat, particularly omega-3 fatty plays essential role in the immune response. Like fish oil having the EPA and the DHA that are shown to improve the immune function of small ruminant. And the supplementation with unsaturated fat can also help improve vaccine responses, as studies have found that ruminants supplemented with omega-3s exhibit a stronger response to vaccination. And also, in addition to the immune benefit, fats like vegetable oil can also improve gut health as they can help maintain the integrity of intestinal mucosa and support better nutrient absorption. And what is the effect of these fat supplementation on the fertility? When we are supplementing fat, particularly unsaturated fat, they have shown to improve reproductive performance in sheep and goat. An addition of fish oil or vegetable oil can impact hormonal regulation and also enhance ovarian function, as if they are also found with the Baker and co-workers. Like omega-3 fatty acid, that is for omega-3, especially EPAs in the fish oil, plays key role in the luteal function. So, and also improve the consumption rate in both sheep and goat. On the other hand, high level of saturated fat can negatively impact on fertility. So we have to take care about the feeding of fat and all. So there is a pros and cons also. So there is a thin line, like we should not exceed this fat percentage. And the balance of fat in diet should therefore be carefully managed to ensure that the animal receives an optimum amount of unsaturated fat to support reproductive health without negative impact their overall function. And what are the best practice for dietary fat supplement in sheep and goat? So there is thing to ensure optimum health and production performance. It is important to follow certain best practices while supplementing fat in small amounts. First of all, thing is choose the right type of fat. It depends on the purpose, like you are choosing for weight gain or milk production reproduction. Oils like fish oil, vegetable oil, or bypass fat can be used. So main thing is balancing fat level. That too much fat in the diet can cause digestive issue. Also, the lower feed intake and inclusion fat should be carefully balanced with other nutrient like fiber and protein also. And this thing is monitoring the fat quality. It is important to use high quality fat that are free from oxidation and rancidity to avoid negative impact on animal health and the product quality. And we should also ensure proper mixing, that fat should be well incorporated into feed or to avoid separation or clumping, and ensuring even distribution and proper digestion. So that's why we can go for choosing oil, proper mixing, or we can go for the bypass fats. And they also think of introduction of gradual introduction, like introduce fat gradually into diet to avoid upsetting the rumen beta and reduce the risk of digestive disturbance. And there are also the potential risk of excessive fat supplementation when we have talked earlier. So while when we are feeding excess fat, then this can disrupt the rumen fermentation and also affect the microbial population, which can negatively impact animal performance and the overall health. And high fat level can result in decreased feed intake, also reduce the reproductive functions. So, and there is also fatty liver syndrome can occur in animals fed high fat diet without proper management, leading to accumulation of fat in the liver. So that will affect the impact liver function and overall metabolism. So there are different fatty acid profiling of the different oils. So we should to take consider about this thing. And what are the various impact of fat supplementation on meat quality of sheep and goat? Because some are mostly rare for the meat purpose, like black Bengal in my area is quite famous. So fat supplementation not only improve the growth performance of, and milk production, but also plays a key role in enhancing milk meat quality. And research indicated that fatty acid composition on meat from the ruminants significantly affected by type of feed. Like if you are feeding fish oil can increase omega-3 fatty acid, and also the oleic acid from the olive oil can improve the tenderness and flavor in goat and the lamb meat. And when we are using tropical oil like coconut and palm oil, may increase intramuscular fat content, but can also impact the healthiness of the meat by increasing the overall saturated meat content. So the right balance of fat help in optimizing marbling, juiciness, and the flavor profile, making the meat much more appealing to consumer, while also enhancing nutritional benefits. So there was one thing also I've told earlier, like effect on liver, that fatty liver syndrome. So monitoring the fat percentage of fat introduction much more important. That proper management such a balanced level of feed ensure adequate fiber intake, and gradually introduction of fat in the diet can help reduce the risk of fatty liver syndrome. So during this whole thing we have to consider about this thing more. Like studies have also done excessive supplementation fat increase the hepatic lipid accumulation, and which disrupt liver function and leads to the hepatic lipidosis. And this condition can especially be a problem in lactating ewes and goat. There's a high energy demand during early lactation. So the what are the strategies to balancing fat supplementation in small ruminant diet? So first thing is gradual introduction of the fat. So next thing is the mixing fat with the fiber. So fat should be balanced with sufficient fiber in the diet to support human fermentation and maintain this microbial balance. Next thing is how to monitor this fat quality. Use high quality fat that is stable and free from oxidation, which ensure they are safe and beneficial for the animals. And also the incorporation of various antioxidants like vitamin E, this can help in prevention of oxidative stress and ensure healthy fat metabolism. And also the observing animals for any sign of digestive disturbance, liver damage or weight loss can help detect and manage potential issues earlier. So there is also thing like fat supplementation, heat stress. So like summers are there, so we can also go for this thing. Like fat produces less metabolic heat during digestion than proteins or carb. So this reduces the heat load and fat increases energy intake. So there was a research by Sirohi and the co-worker. They observed a 23% improvement in milk yield during the peak summers in Sirohi goat, supplemented with 3.5% bypass fat in Haryana. And there is a research also that fat influence the immune function. So when we are feeding with the linseed oil, they have a linseed oil, then there are significantly higher antibiotic titer post vaccination. So when combining the fat with the antioxidant like vitamin A, this can influence the oxidative stress also. So there are practical tip like always pair fat is right with 0.3 ppm selenium and 100 to 200 IU per kg vitamin E to prevent oxidative stress. So this is most important thing we have to take consideration, that fat and the fiber. When we are exceeding the fat, then it mostly influence the fiber digestibility. So there was research also found that increased unprotected soya bean oil from 2 to 6% of goat diet reduced NDF digestibility by 60%, 16% and ADF by the 12%. And most important managemental strategy that we should not exceed the fat level more than 6% when roughage is a major component, and use of bypass fat if higher energy supplementation required without disturbing this fiber utilization. And nitrogen utilization is also affected. So there is a moderate fat inclusion improves energy to the protein ratio, enhancing microbial protein synthesis in the rumen. And also the fat reduces deamination of amino acid by limiting protozoa, thus lowering ruminal ammonia. This improves the nitrogen retention and also the protein efficiency ratio. And when we are combining bypass fat with a bypass protein in early lactation and growth phase diet to maximize tissue deposition, and will find better productivity. And fat addition will also influence this mineral absorption. Like when we are adding dietary fat enhances absorption fat soluble vitamin like A, D, E, K by the micelle formation, and some fats like facilitate calcium and the magnesium absorption. And fats may reduce excretion of zinc and the selenium, and this improve the gut integrity and mucosal health. And when we are there is practical tip also that when include fat soluble vitamin premix when supplemented fat to utilize enhanced absorption capabilities. And what is the feeding strategy for optimum fat absorption? So scientifically, we can see fat digestion occurs in small intestine, emulsification, there's something else. So inclusion, so fat absorption depend on what type of fat types we are getting, like it is saturated are absorbed slower than the unsaturated. And particle size, like filler fats are better utilized, and feeding frequency. And we should divide this into the 2 to 3 meals, improve assimilation. And inclusion of emulsifier like lecithin or lysolecithin improve absorption in commercial formulation. So there are practical guidelines also like 2.5 to 4% total dietary fat for maintenance and 6% for lactation or the high performance animal. Use of bypass fat or we can say encapsulated fat should be add, and ensure presence of vitamin A, niacin and the bile salt analogs. So fats in the low quality forage. Like for the scientific basis, we can see like low quality forages are offer giving. These are fiber rich but energy poor. When we are adding fat or oils, improves dietary energy balance without increasing bulk or reduce intake. So there are also research found like when we are adding bypass fat, they improve the milk yield, energy balance, so balancing fat with the other nutrients. So conceptualizing the framework like fat inclusion alters dietary nutrient dynamics. This decreases the effective fiber if overused, and this increases density may require adjustment in the protein, minerals, fibers. And there is a key nutrient interaction like fat to protein ratio. This criteria in high producing animals, and fiber fat maintains more than the 20% NDF. So formulating tips are there to align fat energy with the CP, TDN, and the ME value. So this takeaway message like balanced nutrition, not just fat inclusion, is essential to maintain sustained productivity and animal health. So bypass fat also influence the FCR and the FCE. So fat improve FCR and the FCR due to the high energy per gram, and this also found it reduces the low methane production. And in goats, inclusion of bypass fat can reduce kg feed per kg weight gain or liter of the milk significantly. And this is also found in research but that when we are feeding 4% bypass fat have 18.2% lower FCR and higher average daily gain as compared to the control animals. So what is the feeding program for the sheep and goat? So, and earlier we have told about this thing, like feeding program, fat inclusion must be tailored by production stage, fat, animal type, base ration. And the formulation tips are also there combined with the bypass protein with synergistic result, mixed with the TMR and ensure consistent intake. So there are different dietary fat level recommendation for lactating goat. We can go for 3.5 to 5%, and preferred form is bypass fat of soybean. In the pregnant Eves or the late gestation, we can go for 2.5 to 3.5% with the protected fat of the tolo. And the growing kids, we can go for 2 to 4% coconut oil, and these are bypass fat. So there are the various feed trials and the research on the fat supplementation. First of all, by when we are giving the 3.5% rumen protected fat, it was found milk it increased by the 14%, milk fat from the 3.6 to the 4.3%, and also by the NDRI, like when we are feeding the bypass fat versus control animal, weight gain was higher, and also by farmer when we are seeing 3% coconut oil in the lactating goats. These were found much more better when we are found giving animal oils to the animal. And what is the effect of fat supplementation on milk production? So milk fat supplemented diet improve milk yield, milk fat, and obviously the omega-3 fat is dependent on the what are the oil we are feed. So there was also research found that in a dairy unit, like when they are supplementing 3.5% bypass fat diet, there was increase in milk yield by the 0.38 liter per day. Milk fat content rose from the 4.2 to the 5.1 percentage. And what is the mechanism? Like fat provides long chain fatty acids that are essential for memory triglyceride synthesis, and this improve the energy partitioning. So these were also found good results by the KBK personnel in the Purnia district of the Bihar. So incorporating oil and the bypass fat into the farm management. So there are various implementation methods like top dressing method, TMR integration, and pallet feed. So for top dressing, simply used by the small holders like sprinkle oil in the concentrate. For the TMR, ideal for the commercial farm, ensures the uniformity, and also in the pelleted feed that combines bypass fat in commercial feed. This reduces the labor cost. Obviously, in management practice, we can adopt for gradual adaptation. Like most of the people were asking that how we can introduce this oil to the sheep and goat. So initially start at 1 to 1.5% and increase it gradually. And most important thing is training farm staff on mixing ratio storage, because main thing is to avoid rancidity, and use feed or tag labels to monitor percent inclusion. And also in the kitchen girls, we have found that some health self-help groups are there. They are using mustard oil with the molasses mixed feed during peak winter. And economical impact of the fat supplementation. So talking about this average cost of the bypass fat, this range from 180 to 120. I've taken one data of the Haryana, and dietary milk intake we can take like 100 grams, so 8 to 12 gram per day. So benefit is there when it increase the milk yield from, like if you're increasing a milk yield from 0.3 to 0.5, then rate is 15 to 20 liter per day. This decrease the feed conversion cost per kg gain and increase the reproductive return. So there is also thing that like in the winter and in summers, there is also the fat supplementation thing that we should take into consideration. Like in heat stress, like in summer, use a bypass fat or coconut oil in the summer to decrease the heat increment, and also this maintain the dry matter intake and milk yield. Like in Rajasthan, Odisha, fat-fed goats showed 12% better milk production during April to June. In the winter condition, extra energy needed for thermoregulation. So saturated fat like tallow, palm oil help reduces body BCS loss. So in like Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand farm supplementing with 3.5% fat saw decreased mortality in the kids. So fat supplementation in mixed farming system. So there's integrated opportunities there. Shared resources like fat rich feed byproduct from oil mills using sheep and goat ration. Like dairy plus the small remnant use of common bypass supplement. And like crop residues are there, then fat fortified TMR blocks for both cow and goats. And like there is also research of the eastern UP is there, the farmers using mustard cake based concentrate plus 2% mustard oil productivity in goats that reduces the feed wastage. And obviously there on the environmental also this decrease the methane per unit of the product, and so this also contribute to the climate smart livestock farming. And there is also the sustainability of the fat supplementation practice. First of all, this reduces feed quantity per output. This improves the resource efficiency and support use of local oil sources, thus low transport footprint and the potential of reducing enteric methane production by replacing high fiber green and bypass fat fed animals shows 12 to 15% lower methane emission per liter milk or meat produced. And suggestions that promote sustainable fat sourcing like rice bran oil, non-edible oilseed cakes, use TMR blocks fortified with fat for longer shelf life and reduce wastage. So there are various challenges also there in scaling of fat supplementation. First of all, the cost and accessibility of the commercial bypass fat, and also there is lack of awareness among the small holders, and there is limitation access to the feed formulation tools also, and there's also risk of misuse, like we can go for overfeeding or unbalanced diet. So this is the more important thing. So what are the various solutions are there? So we can go for use of rational regionally available oils like mustard oil, sesame oil in the southern part, coconut oil. So most of the people keep on asking what is the best thing. It depends upon regional availability. Next thing is promote PPP model like private public partnership for affordable fat supplemented pellets and training programs under KVKs or Pashu Vigyan Kendra. And bridging knowledge access and affordability gap is key to wider adoption of fat feeding practices. And what are the various key findings? First of all, production performance. When you're feeding fat, dietary fat improve milk yield by the 10 to 15%. It improves the meat quality and also the growth rate. And there is a various code effects on found in the nutritional impact, like this increase the energy density, digestibility, feed conversion, and the antioxidant status. This increases the absorption of fat soluble vitamins and also improves the nutrient nitrogen utilization. And there is also good effect on the health and reproduction, support immune function, reduce heat stress, and improve conception and the fertility. And like economics proven to offer positive rate of interest, especially in lactation finishing diet. So we can say like fat supplementation offers a multi-dimensional advantages across performance, reproduction, health, and profitability in small ruminants. And what are the practical implications of farmer? Advisory is to use 2.5 to 4% in growth in growing or lactating animal, and this is key. Not exceed more than 6% of total mass. And this is a while like some in some books we can see 6 to 8% substituting, but I stick to the 6% is much more better option. And use of bypass fat. This is the most standing thing we can use in the small ruminant and ensure balanced diet like proper protein, fiber, mineral, and vitamin level. And like I've told earlier, feeding method like top dressing, TMR integration, or pallet based feeding, and use of regionally available oil like mustard oil, linseed, coconut, etc. And there is support system from like KVKs, Corporation Extension, and etc. And educated, balanced, and locally adapted fat feeding practices can empower smallholders and commercial producers alike. And there are various challenges and limitation of fat supplementation. First of all, high cost of bypass fat of fish oil. Next thing is human disturbance with the unprotected high unsaturated fatty acid oils. And there's limited awareness among smallholder farmers. And there is obviously when we mix the oil, so there is a chance of oxidation issue. So caution is there. Again, I'm telling the avoid if it's more than 6% fat, this may mostly affect the fiber digestibility and also the feed intake. And monitoring of fatty liver syndrome, particularly over conditioned animal. So while beneficial, fat supplementation must be practiced scientifically, economically, and with proper farmer awareness. And what are the various future direction in fat supplementation research? So first of all, thing is research purpose are there. So emulsified fats for improved viability. Research are going on in this. So next thing is herbal fat-based active with antioxidant and immune boosting effects. Next thing is customized regional fat blend, where blending based on the oil seed availability like lean seed, coconut, and mustard. So we can go for mixing of various oil. And there is integrated with the climate smart. nutrition like low methane, higher efficiency. So what are the various recommendations that we can give? For the farmers, start with a 2 to 3% oil mixed with concentrate and the green fodder and monitor weekly for milk, weight and appetite. And most important thing, use antioxidant along with PUFAs. The polymaker promote local oil resources in growth and the sheep feed formulation, develop low-cost fat premixes in self-help group and the backyard farmer. And there's the most important thing is research also needed. So integration of fat in fat nutrition into climate resilience, low input system and organic model. So building BIS or ISR fat feeding standard for the small ruminants. So this is like most important thing is feeding fat is not just about calories. It's about converting nutrition into resilience, performance, and the prosperity.